Donald Trump is probably the most dishonest president that this country has ever seen, and unfortunately for all of us, he has been pretty successful at getting other people to believe in the same set of lies and conspiracies that he bases his worldview on. We now have a whole segment of our society that lives in a complete separate reality bubble, and it doesn't even come close to resembling the same set of facts that you and I live with here on Earth. And to make matters even worse, he then uses this conspiratorial worldview to justify some of his most insane behavior. We've seen it with undocumented immigrants or some of his real estate holdings. It even had its own name during the 2020 election. We called it the Big Lie. And now Chris Hayes has put together an excellent piece about how he is using this exact same strategy to come after your Social Security. So let's go ahead and take a look and get a quick reminder about how Donald Trump used the idea of a fraudulent election to try to undermine the entire thing. If you guys do appreciate my work, please do remember to subscribe.
They're sending millions of ballots all over the country. There's fraud. They found them in creeks.
We caught them, as you know. It's fraudulent, dropping ballots, doing so many things nobody can even believe it. Dead people voting.
It was a massive dump of votes.
And then you get to Detroit, and it's like more votes than people.
We have a company that's very suspect. Its name is Dominion.
This election was lost by the Democrats. They cheated. It was a fraudulent election. They flooded the market.
So, months leading up to the 2020 election, he was already planting the seeds of how this election was going to be rigged. And then even after the election took place, he started saying that there was ballots being trucked all over the country and that thousands upon thousands of dead people were voting, so it would swing the election to Joe Biden's favor. But the only problem is he never provided any evidence for those claims. And to the contrary, we found out that dead people voting is not really a problem.
The myth of dead people voting for Democrats. This has been a fringe right-wing talking point for years, and Trump elevated the lie to new prominence. He used it in his, quote, perfect phone call with Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to pressure his fellow Republicans into basically a coup, into rigging the state's vote totals to favor Trump, even though he lost the state. And Raffensperger debunked that lie in his testimony to the January 6th committee.
The other thing, dead people. So dead people voted, and I think the number is in the close to 5,000 people. And they went to obituaries. They went to all sorts of methods to come up with an accurate number, and a minimum is close to about 5,000 voters.
So Brad Raffensperger would later go on and testify in the January 6th committee, and he said there that there were only 4 people that could be identified that were actually dead by the time their ballots were counted. Donald Trump was never able to provide any evidence to prove any of his claims, whether it be dead voters, fraudulent ballots, people being trucked in on buses like he claimed. But he used all of these claims to rile up his supporters for them to attack the Capitol. They tried to overthrow democracy based on all of these lies that Donald Trump told. He used these lies as a way to discredit or undermine our institutions. And then that rage of people thinking they had their vote stolen from them was used as the catalyst to attack the Capitol. That is why these lies can be so damn dangerous. And during the State of the Union address, guess what he was lying about? Dead people and Social Security.
We're also identifying shocking levels of incompetence and probable fraud in the Social Security program. Believe it or not, government databases list 4.7 million Social Security members from people aged 100 to 109 years old. It lists 3.6 million people from ages 110 to 119. I don't know any of them. I know some people that are rather elderly, but not quite that elderly. But we're going to find out where that money's going. and it's not going to be pretty.
And you'll notice that people were booing from the crowd because Donald Trump, again, has still not been able to provide any evidence to prove any of these claims. But then he goes out there on repeat and says them over and over and over again, because this is the way that he has found that he can sell these lies to some of the American people. He thinks that if he can just repeat it over and over and over again, people will start to believe that what he is saying is actually true. But again, we know that he is just full of shit.
A government investigation last year found that from 2015 through 2022, 7 years, of all the money the agency paid out in benefits, and that is $8.6 trillion, a staggering sum, less than 1% was improper payments. That's a really good record. And most of the erroneous payments were overpayments to living people.
Can we just stop to acknowledge just how incredible that this actually is? The Social Security Administration, I think they pay about 70 million people per year, upwards of near, I think it's $2 trillion per year, and they have less than 1% of an error rate, or an overpayment rate, or an improper payment rate. That is remarkable. I don't think anybody in the private sector could do something that well. It still blows my mind to this day that the Social Security office is that efficient. I mean, that is just a wild, wild thing. But Donald Trump and Elon Musk and others, they are trying to make you believe that the system is so chock full of fraud that it would justify just shutting it down or maybe privatizing it, because that's been the claim that they have said for decades, right? The private market can do everything better. We've heard this over and over and over again. And now he is enlisting his MAGA stooges to carry on this lie and push it out into the ether for him.
What he's finding with his algorithms crawling through the data of Social Security system is enormous amounts of fraud, waste, and abuse.
Tens of millions of deceased people who are receiving fraudulent Social Security payments.
More than 13 million people on the records receiving benefits who are over 119 years old.
I'm shocked enough. Who do we have at 200 years old, or who do we have older than America that's getting Social Security?
Everybody whose grandfather died and is still getting Social Security? Give me a break.
Yeah.
Everything that you just heard there was a lie. They have never provided a shred of evidence to prove what they are saying. It doesn't happen. It's not happening. These people are lying to your face, and then they call you stupid for not believing it. They are coming after your Social Security. And even Elon Musk is getting in on the action by trying to undermine the whole system by calling it some sort of Ponzi scheme.
Well, I mean, the government's one big pyramid scheme, if you ask me.
Yeah, well, you can tell me better than anybody.
Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time.
Right, explain that.
Oh, so, well, people pay into Social Security, and the money goes out of Social Security immediately, but the obligation for Social Security is your entire retirement career. So you're paying you're paying like if you look at the future obligations of Social Security, it far exceeds the tax revenue.
Do you see how he's kind of having trouble spitting out what he's trying to say? It's because he has no idea what the hell he is talking about. Social Security is not a Ponzi scheme. It is a pay-as-you-go insurance system. It is functioning the way that it is supposed to function. The younger people pay into the system that pays the older people, and then when the younger people grow up and get old and they retire, the younger people behind them, they pay for their Social Security. That is how the system is designed. That is how it is supposed to work. And as they go around spreading all these lies to try to undermine this system, it has been proven over and over and over and over again that the Social Security Administration is not only super efficient, like we already talked about, but they have not been able to provide any evidence to try to prove their case or make their claims true. Not a shred of evidence. So, what is their end goal? They want to undermine the system. They want people to believe that there is just so much fraud in Social Security that it justifies being shut down or privatized or whatever it is, or whatever it else is that they want to do with it. This is the tried and true strategy of Donald Trump and his MAGA cohort. This is what they do. Lie after lie after lie. And I just want to ask you guys one quick question. Even if what they were saying was true, even if there was a 5% fraud rate in Social Security, would that really justify shutting the whole system down? Would that really justify privatizing the whole thing? Because as of today, a grandma and grandpa have never, ever missed a payment. There has never been a late payment in the entirety of this Social Security ever since it's been set up. Payments go out on time. Payments are always made. Any overpayments are then corrected. But now, for the first time in the program's history, payments might be late. People might not get their payments because Elon Musk and his idiot muskrats are running around and they seem to have no flippin' idea about how any of this works. So it's very possible that your grandma or grandpa could miss their payment. How is that going to sit with the American people? But again, I come back to the question. Even if their claims are true, even if there's 5% of fraud, does it really justify shutting it down? Here's Martin O'Malley, who used to administer Social Security, making the claim that they are trying to break this thing on purpose. This is a tried and true strategy of the Republicans. They defund something, they try to make it work not as well, and then they point at it and say, ha ha, see, it doesn't work. We need to privatize it. We need to shut it down.
They're creating a mess. It's a mess of their own making. You know, our fellow Marylander, Barbara Mikulski, texted me and said they're trying to break it so they can privatize it. Yeah. I think they're trying to break it so they can loot it. They want what's in that Social Security trust fund for some reason. And they now have these kids in T-shirts mucking around up there, going through people's personal data, plugging into systems that they can't even read and understand themselves. Which is why they concluded that there was some zombie apocalypse with tens of millions of people walking around with checks spewing out of their cadaverous pockets. It's a real mess up there. And the guy running it only ran an office of about 5 people before, but he's doing whatever they ask of him.
So I think we all just need to take a step back, and we need to ask ourselves, why is Donald Trump lying about this? Why is Elon Musk lying about this? Why are all of the Republicans jumping on board and telling this exact same lie? And then when we compare it to Donald Trump's past and the way that he has used this strategy before, we start to realize that they're coming after Social Security. They're making it quite clear. They're telling lie after lie after lie. They are trying to make people believe that the system is so chock full of fraud. They're trying to undermine people's trust in the system so they can either just, shut it down, privatize it, maybe loot it, as O'Malley was saying there. Whatever it is not good. And your grandma and grandpa are now at risk of losing some of their Social Security benefits, all because these billionaire assholes want to have their way with it. The American people have got to be on the lookout for this stuff. We have to let the American people know about these types of strategies, how they're being used. We need to point out their next targets. And right now, Social Security is on the chopping block, and I think they are making it abundantly clear. It could not be more clear to me. Donald Trump is spewing all the lies in the world to make you believe that Social Security, let's just get rid of it. I'll leave it there for now, guys. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. We've got to build something here on the left that can adequately push back against all of this right-wing media ecosystem disinformation. We have to push back against this kind of crap day in and day out. So if you do like what I do here, please do remember to subscribe. If you want to see how the American people are starting to wake up and fighting back against Elon Musk and his companies, go ahead and check out that video on the screen now about the Tesla boycotts. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.